This is by far one of the most important elements for your physical training, especially if you want to gain mastery like handstands, human flags, flares, and flips, and nobody is talking about it. Lee Weiland, Pacific Rim Athletics and creator of Powerbatics, and welcome to training. Number one, bridge the gap. Here's what I mean. How do you bridge the gap from rows to pull-ups, or frog stands to handstands, or go from squats to a Powerbatics pinnacle move like a flip? Here's the solution. We call it a bridge move. It's simple because it's logical. For example, using a chin hang to bridge the gap from front rows to pull-ups, or using a flying frog to bridge the gap from frog stands to handstands. It requires using objective observation to see where the gap actually is according to your body type, goals, and current situation, as well as logical engineering that correctly fills in that gap. And to be clear, this is more than simply a progression, because progressions are typically cookie cutter, but a bridge move is far more specific that addresses a weak link. Years ago, I remember wanting to learn a few strength moves and bought the most expensive progression-based program. My wife calls me extra because I go above and beyond, and I did this program exactly as prescribed, progression by progression, but I got stuck numerous times. I was like, I thought this was supposed to be the best. So what did I do? I built my own bridge moves that eventually became the ninja strength element of Powerbatics. These bridge moves are not only the positions, but also whether they're reps or static holds, like I talk about in other videos, as well as the times and so on. Like this grid of 9 moves that builds to a human flag. You'll see Venny gaining muscle ups, 2-minute long handstands, and human flags, and going all the way up to level 10 ninja strength from using bridge moves. And this leads to the second principle. Number 2, the ugly moves. You want to know the ugly truth? The ugly truth is that to bridge the gap, you need to do the ugly moves. But a lot of times we don't know what to do. And then anger and injuries, anxiety, then apathy. Listen, life is ugly, and that's okay. Now, what I mean by ugly is that it isn't straight lines, like a modern house or a cityscape. There's no straight line in nature, and there's no straight line in your training. Think of a tree, rooted, grounded, able to brace against the wind. In fact, what might be considered ugly by some is in fact beautiful. It's like building a handstand. People think you have to use a wall and not use any ugly form and build a straight line for your handstand. That's not how at all. Take a flying frog, which is in reality a low bent arm handstand. Here's a 6-step process. It's done for grueling times of 10 seconds, then 20, then 30 and beyond, for 3, 5, even 10 rounds of training. Shaking, slowly sinking to the ground. But many would consider that ugly form. People will look in the mirror and think, what am I doing? And naysayers will look on and call it ugly. I wouldn't. I call that beautiful. It's an ugly but beautiful bridge move that connects where you are now to where you want to be. And this works no matter what discipline or sport you do, from martial arts to calisthenics to free running and tumbling. And you know, some people have said Venny doesn't have good form, though they can't do it anymore, retired from it, and their highlight of the day is leaving negative comments. But there he is. Didn't even start until his mid-40s, doing human flags, one-arm pull-ups, levers, even flips, and all kinds of incredible feats of strength and skill, 6 decades into life, and most importantly, enjoying it. And that leads to the third principle. Number 3, perfect form is a perfect myth. Perfection exists in only one source. So rather than chase human perfection, which is an illusion, train for purpose. So you must adopt a mindset of purpose. This then carries over into your training. And this is exactly what pushes you off the plateau of mediocrity. And look at that. The acronym, or the acrostic, I always get those 2 words mixed up, of mindset of purpose is exactly the opposite of plateau of mediocrity. MOP versus POM. And if you don't already know, you'll be surprised when you discover that not only are demonstrable feats of strength and skill more purposeful than the mundane, but you can attain that level faster than you realize. For example, a handstand push-up is far superior to an overhead press with weights because it taps into the body alone. It connects the body and mind and is developed just as a tree grows through time and patience. But you can achieve it if you adopt a mindset of purpose. And there's a 3-step process for this, and that includes believing you can, doing the actions even if you don't feel like it, and then the actions train the brain to believe. It's a virtuous cycle, you see? And then you're living and training with purpose, which leads to the 4th principle. Number 4, what if you do really get stuck? And you will, no doubt. But the strategy here is to simply go back to number 1. Ask, where's the gap? And then let's test a different bridge move. I use this all the time, pretty much every single day when training my most advanced students. And I teach my coaches to actually use this too. And it's something that you should consider. It's called the 3-strike rule. If I see a student try something new and they're giving it their absolute best and they don't make it, or perhaps they don't do it because they freeze, I'm already counting and calculating. I'll give them another shot or two, but after that, it's on me. My job is to fill that gap so they can be successful. And this is not on a blueprint or a spreadsheet. It's problem solving in real time. So what variable do we change? What bridge move do we try instead? This limits exhaustion and failure. Remember, insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. And that rule is extremely beneficial for increasing progress quickly, which makes everything so much more fun. And that leads to the 5th principle. Number 5, keep going. Instead of a spiral downward, stay on a spiral upward, mentally and physically. One fantastic strategy is a solution for a problem I observed with our students. They were getting stronger, but sometimes, like calisthenics guys, gymnasts, and weightlifters, they were, as I say, clunky. Not really able to move and be versatile like we should be able to in real life outside of the gym. So I incorporated dyna combos, multiple moves linked together, and then katas, routines required for each level. You see, they self-correct. They help fill the gaps and fix the imbalances, like this ninja strike kata, which is essentially a long timed hang with bridge moves connected together. You see what I'm saying? Another fantastic strategy we use is to always end on a high note and share wins and victories with each other at the end of training. So share your wins and victories with your training buddies, your coach, and your community, and in the comments below. And then you'll see yourself not only doing handstands, human flags, flares, and flips, but going beyond that and building versatility and dexterity of human movement like katas and so much more. So apply these and see some remarkable changes in your training. Now, a couple reminders. You can literally talk with us in the next day or 2 on a free coaching session. You do need to qualify, but if you do, it'll be great to do a deep dive with you. And if you'd like, we can walk through enrollment. There's also videos coming up on the screen that are designed to help you and help you keep making progress. Either way, see you in the next video and in training soon.